The British people have been one of the most influential nations on earth. So in the past couple of centuries, the British were in great control and were successful in controlling large parts of America, Africa, Australia, and Asia. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about 10 countries that were never colonized by the British. Hey everyone, how are you guys doing today? It's your boy Ayaan Luqman and welcome back to FTD Facts, where we're posting daily videos talking about almost anything related to history, religion, country, or culture. So number 10, we're going to be talking about Korea. Korea, instead of being controlled by the Europeans, they were ruled by another nation. Korea was initially under Qing Dynasty, which was the last imperial dynasty of China. Later on, the Japanese government gained control after winning the first Sino-Japanese War. In 1910, Korea became a part of a formal Japanese colony, which avoided European colonization. So number 9, we have Iran. British forces were really interested in controlling the Persian Empire. So during that time, the Persian Empire also included the present-day Iran. British forces gained power in the eastern region of the Persian Empire, which is the present-day Pakistan in the 19th century. During this time, Iran was controlled by the Qajar dynasty, which had borrowed money from the European banks but were unable to repay. Because they were unable to repay, the British government came to an agreement that they would control and share Persia's revenue, but the Persian Empire never agreed to the conditions, which prevented Iran from being officially colonized by the Europeans. On number 8, we have Japan. Japan was another country that were able to resist the European colonization. Over time, the Japanese government ended up establishing a strong, influential presence in Taiwan, Korea, and South Sakhalin. The government was really smart and initiated the Meiji Restoration of 1868 because they became really aware of the threats of the Western invasion. During the restoration, Japan started to really industrialize and began to adapt to the Western ideas. Because of these improvements, Japan defeated Qing Dynasty of China during the Sino-Japanese War. So later on, Japan defended themselves from the invading Russians and won in 1905. The country became even stronger after the annex of Korea and Manchuria. So on number 7, we have Saudi Arabia. So Saudi has usually been ruled by the tribunal leaders from throughout the region. A couple hundred years ago, the Ottoman Empire was very powerful and gained control of majority of Saudi Arabia and remained in power from 1600s to the early 1900s. Although the Saudi royal family began fighting for control. So during the time of World War I, Britain was fighting against the Ottoman Empire. The British provided support to the Arab states when they began to rebel against the Ottomans. At the end of the war, the empire lost control of Saudi Arabia and left behind a united Arab state. So number 6, we're going to be talking about Thailand. So during the 19th century, present-day Thailand was known as Kingdom of Siam. So the King of Siam, Chulalongkorn, realized that there was a lot of potential in adapting to European customs and European technology that would help prevent them from being colonized. So the kingdom existed between two of the most powerful groups of people, which were the French and the British. His influence helped with the British-French relationships of the neighboring countries in his favor, which prevented the majority of the kingdom from falling under European ruling. If you guys are enjoying the video, definitely hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. So number 5, we have China. So another country the British couldn't take over was China. Especially during when the British tried ruling the world, the Chinese Empire had an extremely large force, large enough to be compared to the Ottoman Empire. Despite being strong, the British and the French were able to gain some power over China through its import and exports. Other countries like the US, Russia, and Italy all wanted the same status of being the favored nations, just like how the British and the French were. So rather than being colonized, the coastal areas of China were divided amongst the Western powers, causing the Qing dynasty to lose some, but not all of its control. So number 4, we have Afghanistan. Parts of Afghanistan during that time were a part of the Persian Empire. Afghanistan caught the attention of both the Great Britain and the Russian forces. So with a little help, the Afghan military conquered the British army in 1839. The British weren't really happy about it, so the British forces once again attempted to take control of Afghanistan in the Second War, which lasted from 1878 to 1880. So the British were able to negotiate control of the country's foreign relationships, but Afghanistan still had domestic control. So number 3, we have Bhutan. Bhutan is a country that is located in the Himalaya mountain range, which makes it very difficult to invade. The British military were still persistent and fought to gain control of some of the insignificant areas of Bhutan from 1772 to 1774. Because of this, the British were able to negotiate, and so Bhutan agreed to pay them 5 horses and to give them control of the logging industry. So regardless of the agreement, both countries were still in constant disagreements until 1947. So in 1947, the British forces decided to finally withdraw from the area right after India gained its independence. So number 2, we have Nepal. Nepal was another country where the British tried to take over but were unable to. In 1814 to 1816, the Nepali military forces fought the British or the British East India. Since the British had a larger force, they were able to gain 30% of Nepal. However, because of the rocky terrain, it prevented the British from moving forward. And since the terrain was so difficult to get past, the British forces left the rest of Nepal as an independent state. So interestingly, the British were quite impressed by the Nepali troops and decided to recruit them for the colonial army. So number 1, we have Ethiopia. So when the Europeans decided to invade and colonize the African continent, Ethiopia was one country that managed to stay uncolonized by the Europeans between 1880 to 1914. In fact, roughly 90% of Africa was colonized by European nations. So King Theodoros was the emperor of Ethiopia who wrote a letter to Queen Victoria of England, who completely ignored it. And this really angered the king, who then decided to imprison several of British people in 1868 and would refuse to release them. This got the British rattled up and they decided to invade and overthrow the king, but failed. However, Ethiopia in 1935 were invaded by the Italian forces who were working under Mussolini, but the Emperor of Ethiopia was able to regain control at the end of World War II in 1941. If you guys enjoyed today's episode of 10 countries that were never colonized by the British, definitely make sure to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and definitely comment down below a topic that you would like us to cover, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.